Hey guys, Dave Spitz here at Cal Strength, and today I'm going to give you the secret to saving any jerk. So we're going to go ahead and outline 3 of the most common mistakes in the jerk regarding the dip, drive, and split, and what you can do to fix them. If you're not already, go ahead and hit that subscribe button for more weightlifting content, training videos, and technique tips. And be sure to hit the like button if you found this video helpful. Without further ado, let's get going on the faults and the fixes to save any jerk. Alright, so like I've said many times before, the jerk is often considered to be the hardest of the 3 movements in Olympic weightlifting. And we're going to cover the dip, the drive, and the split. And we're going to talk about the faults and fixes that can occur within each of these 3 phases. But remember, the jerk is a total commitment. So like we always say around here, lack of confidence is the heaviest anchor you can wear as an athlete. And in the jerk, it is so important that you want to be underneath the barbell. It's very, very difficult to do anything but execution at 100% commitment in order to make successful jerks. All right, let's get started. Fault number 1, your dip is incorrect. So let's talk about the reasons why your dip could be incorrect. You need to reclaim proper posture. As you stand up from a heavy clean, oftentimes the center of mass gets forward, and so reclaiming proper posture coming out of that heavy clean is imperative. Pulling your scap together, raising your shoulders up, assigning your core brace properly. Second, the foot pressure could be an issue. So making sure that you feel the pressure back into the ankle as you go to initiate that dip. Number 3, your hands could be too tense. So a lot of times when we're cleaning heavy and setting up for a jerk, the anxiety of driving ourselves underneath the bar causes our hands to clinch up. And that leads to a 4th error in the dip, which is separation from the shoulders with the barbell. So as you dip, the bar separates from the shoulder. And oftentimes if your hands are too tense, that's likely to occur. So those are the most common ways where you can create errors in your dip. So how can we fix this dip? Okay, so making sure that you have an opportunity to overcome these faults in the dip is really important, and you're going to want to start with, like we talked about, tension. Tension is the most important aspect of setting up before you execute your dip. So setting up so that your thoracic is engaged, your core is braced, and your hands are allowed to relax, that the bar is just resting comfortably on the shoulders. Always remember that the hips will follow the barbell. So wherever you dip to, if you dip forward with your torso, the hips are going to subsequently slide underneath the barbell. They're going to follow and find the barbell wherever it is. And so making sure that your foot pressure is assigned correctly so that you can dip into the ankles and then drive up into full extension out of the ankles is a really important fix. Also, making sure that you stay connected to the barbell. That's a function of tempo. So as you execute your dip, you want to make sure that you stay connected so that as you come down into what we call the power position, dipping down into the power position, the bar stays directly on the shoulders without any separation. If you can make sure that you take those things into account, and if you're looking at from a side angle, the end cap of the barbell as you come down into the dip, the easiest way to determine whether you're in a great position or not is to look at your body as it relates to the barbell. So we want to make sure that if you were to drop a plumb line from the end cap of the barbell down to the ground, that it would bisect your foot just over the ankle. So if it's forward of the ankle or behind the ankle, you know you've got some problems. All right, let's talk about fault number 2. Your drive is off. Now, the drive is composed of 2 primary components. your force that you create on the barbell through extension, and the trajectory of the barbell as you drive the bar off the shoulders to put it behind your ears in a stable position. So let's talk about that muted hip drive that can occur if your foot pressure is off. So like we talked about, the hips are going to follow the bar. So if you dip into the front part of your foot, your hips will then follow suit, follow under the bar, and you're going to have a very quad dominant drive. And so when your hips are not a factor, when your posterior chain is not a factor, remember all that force starts proximally, moves distally, then you're going to have a very muted drive. You're not going to have any energy on the barbell to be able to break the bar from the shoulders. And remember, the legs have to drive the bar and the hands have to drive the body underneath into position. So secondly, let's talk about trajectory coming out of that drive. If you dip forward from the torso and the weight shifts forward to the foot, sometimes you just won't be able to complete an extension. You won't be able to make sure that the hips, knees, and ankles are allowed to finish through the top of the movement. And that subsequently is going to send the bar forward. So if you just drive from the quads, the bar is going to come really forward of where we need it to be to execute a stable jerk. So your drive is muted and your trajectory is forward. Now, how are we going to fix that? All right, so the primary fix for the drive is just to make sure that you have an abundance of confidence. So making sure that as you come out of that dip, that you are holding position as far back on the foot as possible through the extension, and that your hands are allowed to stay passive as you complete the extension. Really critical that you have the commitment to execute a proper drive. All right, fault number 3, your split is unstable. And so making sure that you understand that these are overlapping symptoms in many cases that will lead to an unstable split, but that the really common issues we see, the really common faults we see are being what we call tight-roped. So your feet are too narrow as you execute your split. So you tighten your base and that becomes an opportunity for you to lose balance. The other thing is we need to make sure that you're stable overhead as you meet the bar, so your core is engaged, your triceps are squeezed, your thoracic is tight, and that you are ready for war as we execute our recovery. All right, so how do we fix an unstable jerk? Again, this is kind of a compounding symptom situation that starts with your dip. And if your dip is flawed, your drive is likely to be flawed. If your drive is flawed, your split is likely to be flawed. But looking at the split just as a standalone component, what we need to make sure is that we have confidence. Confidence enough to be committed to driving yourself down under the bar. And that requires a lot of override of your natural self-preservation instinct. You have to be able to punch yourself underneath a barbell that feels ridiculously heavy in order to be an effective weightlifter. And so the way we do that is by relaxing the hands, having the confidence to execute a proper punch into position and to create a situation where we are working into an A-frame. So that back femur and that front femur extend off of the hip to create an A-frame so that you have this aspect of stability. You also want to make sure that in terms of sliding that back foot and front foot that you're maintaining a solid base. So an A-frame structure from the torso down into the hip, across the two femurs, and that nice, stable, wide base that basically doesn't narrow from the initial dip and drive foot position. All right, so we've covered the dip, the drive, and the split. We've covered faults and potential corrections for those faults. Now, let's say you just hit a PR clean and you're standing up into your jerk and you have a degree of error in the dip or a degree of error in the drive or the split. How do you overcome some of those errors and still manage to make the jerk. Because we've seen things not go completely technically perfect and athletes still be able to fight through and recover heavy jerks. The number one thing I can tell you is focus on anchoring your back foot first. So as you punch into your split, anchor the ball of the back foot before your front foot hits. Then as you anchor and you're punching down, reach forward with the heel of the front foot. Anchor and step out. And you can overcome a lot of the trajectory issues and some of that muted drive that is a product of some errors caused either in the dip or the drive. So start with some footwork drills where you're just stepping back and reaching forward. It's great movement prep for the jerk. And if you ever watch Cal Strength videos, our training montages, you'll see me yelling from the sideline, anchor and step out. That's the mechanism that can help you save a jerk. Anchoring that back foot, stepping long with that front heel while you maintain your A-frame, while you maintain your stability with your wider base. But that key component of back foot strikes first and the heel of the front foot reaches forward can help you save your next heavy jerk. So just to review, our primary goal is to make sure that we always execute with great technique. But on heavy third attempt clean and jerks, we've all been there. We know that things aren't always going to be perfect. The weight's going to challenge your positions, going to challenge your confidence, and we have to have mechanisms in our toolbox to be able to rescue those attempts when need be. 2, 1, and action. Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. Hey, Dave. Hey.